Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
Derk Harron.
And we're here to finally put in our review for Mandy. This is a movie that came out about a month and a half ago, I think, on VOD, and then just a couple of weeks ago on DVD. And a lot of people jumped all over this one, and with good reason, because we actually did a trailer reaction here on the channel that was, we were like, this looks really crazy and awesome, and I want to see it and stuff. That trailer reaction, that trailer, honestly, still didn't do the movie justice as far as how different and interesting the movie really was, in my opinion. So I'm very excited to talk about it. I believe I have an inkling of what your thoughts were based on a Facebook post after you watched it in the theater. But yeah, let's do this review like we normally do. We'll talk about our overall thoughts, then we'll talk about the story, the acting, the effects, and definitely cinematography, music, and actual filmmaking in this one. So, Derk, what were your thoughts on this one?
Well, I got to see this in the theater.
Okay.
And I saw it at the Alamo Draft House, and they turned the speakers up to like 11.
Really?
Yeah, and it was just blasting.
Having that sound mix blasting at you would be pretty interesting.
Dude, because I just recently watched it again, because like you told me that like, oh, we're gonna do the review, so I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna.
Oh, you threw it on today?
Yeah, I just threw it on today.
Awesome, yeah.
So, like, just having that experience of being in the theater and like just, you know, the total darkness of the theater experience, and then like just since this movie like feels like you're in a dream, you know, and then when that King Crimson music like comes on at the very beginning of the movie, and you're just like, where are we going?
Yeah.
And then even that moment like where like Cage gets on the helicopter at the beginning, like I just recently watched the original like Predator.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so like I was just like, dude, this totally feels like the beginning of Predator. and yeah, that like you're just taken to another place. Like just anything that you think is like a normal reality is like once you get to Mandy, once Cage gets home, like everything starts to kind of change.
Yeah.
And it was such a ride, man. I loved it. There was just so many great moments visually, and like just great gore too. Like it had so many, like it played with so many different genres of horror and even like, you know, just revenge, thriller, psychedelic. It felt like so many different movies at so many different times. And, so yeah, I loved it.
Fair enough. No, I wanted you to kind of gush about it like that because I definitely enjoyed the film. I don't think I came away as infatuated with it as everyone else is, although I definitely, after revisiting it in my own brief way today, I definitely want to have it in my collection. It feels like one just for the filmmaking standpoint. The story I felt was a little lackluster, only in so much as the villains I thought were just, I don't know if I didn't get enough of them or if they were a little underdeveloped or if I wanted more of the Hellraiser bikers than I wanted of this lame kind of cult with this like fragile leader.
Man, I thought the cult was so great. I thought all of each character was just like had so much personality to them, and like they said so much with so little words, and like
that's true. And
so they were just such individuals, and like they played their roles so well. I thought like each time, you know, Red Miller, the Nicolas Cage's character, comes across these characters, it's just like, oh shit, here it comes.
There's you're right. I will say that yes, it does feel like every time Nicolas Cage squares up against someone, it's like, oh, this is an important interaction.
Right.
Every single time. That doesn't always happen in movies. A lot of times you're like, okay, this is the little guy leading up to the big guy and all this stuff. No, this is way more interesting than that. And I will say, the way I consume the movie, just to kind of round out my thoughts here, I actually did it in two pieces because I was pressed for time when I started it.
Okay.
So I watched the first half on one night and then the second half the next day. And honestly, the movie could very well be broken up like that because,
Well, yeah.
I mean, the first half is the tragedy of the movie,
Well,
and the second half is the revenge of the movie.
Right. But it's also the love story at the first half of the movie.
Yep.
And then also just finding out the backstory of each character. And that's what I loved about it, because you're totally right. Like, the movie could be broken into two parts. What's so crazy about it was that, like, you don't see the title sequence until halfway through the movie.
No.
And,
well, they do chapter headings. They did two previous chapter headings, and then Mandy was the third one.
Well,
but that could count as, yes, the title sequence.
Well, which was really crazy, too, because I have them written down.
Okay.
Shadow Mountain. That's where they're located. And then it was really interesting part where, you know, she's like working at like a gas station or whatever, and that's when they find her for the and she says that she lives near Crystal Lake, and I thought that was like,
I didn't even think about that. I think it did register at the time, but I just let it go because I was into the movie.
Just like there's just like all these like little nuances to other horror movies and stuff like that are in there. Like it even
definitely the Chainsaw 2 battle from Chainsaw Massacre 2, like big homage to that.
But like just how grainy the picture looks, like it reminds you of like those old 70s grindhouse
sort of stuff.
Type of stuff.
It's extraordinarily accomplished, honestly, you guys. I mean, so let's just jump into the story then. We both liked it. Right. You loved it. I liked it a lot.
I would say that it's my second favorite movie of the year.
Of the year, okay. So behind what?
Hereditary's on top.
All right. Yeah, God, I see. This is a hard year, honestly. This is a hard year. Because I'm a big fan of A Quiet Place as well, and the new Suspiria is pretty high up there for me too.
That's number 3 for me.
Honestly, so it's you should really join us for the tops of this year, because there's a lot of really interesting movies, great horror movies that have come out, ones that I can actually appreciate that I normally wouldn't. Like, I think Suspiria is probably the witch of this year, but I hated the witch. But I really loved Suspiria. So I mean, it's interesting. But this one was, I think by far the most artistic horror movie of the year.
Yeah, it was like fantasy horror.
Yes.
You know, you're like you've entered the realm of, like, you know, it's almost like a blend of like Fangoria magazine and Heavy Metal magazine, like merging.
Well, and there's again, I always drifted back to Hellraiser with the you know, the sort of the demon biker things.
They're called the Black Skulls.
The Black Skulls, right?
Gang.
But you know, they chug the concentrated LSD like it's, you know, and then they say blood for blood. So the first time I watched it, I'm like, oh, is that blood? And then later, the second time when I went through it and I saw Nicolas Cage dip his finger in it later and then get all trippy visions, I'm like, oh, that's just the concentrated, like, LSD.
Right.
So.
But another thing, when they said blood for blood, it was because they gave away that fat guy.
Right.
So
the human sacrifice.
The human sacrifice.
And so I guess just boiling it down, the story. Nicolas Cage plays a lumberjack.
Yep.
And he is with a woman by the name of Mandy, and they have a very special connection. One of those cosmic connections that you see sometimes in movies that I actually really love when they do that.
Yeah.
Because it feels like their connection is beyond anything that I've like experienced or my friends have experienced. It's like something so special that when it gets disrupted, it warrants this sort of response.
Well, that was one thing that I loved about whenever Cage like was dreaming, like he entered her like artistic realm.
Yeah, the animation sequences. Yeah. How interesting was that, right? They plugged in like, what was it, 3 of them? I think plugged in 3 different animation sequences that were Nicolas Cage's visions of his wife in like you said, her artistic format, and
she's an artist, and at the very beginning she's like drawing shit, and he's like his mind is blown.
Honestly, this movie just blew me away with its filmmaking prowess more so than its story prowess.
Well, yeah, I think that like I was listening to some interviews with Panos Cosmatos. That's
the name of the director?
Yeah.
Panos Cosmatos.
Yeah. Okay. And he was just talking about how like he feels that like story in movies is not so important to him. It's more about how you tell the story that what it really boils down to.
That's fair.
And so,
it does make me want to see, what was it, Beyond the Rainbow or whatever?
Beyond
the Black Rainbow. Right.
Rainbow, yeah.
Because this guy definitely has an artistic eye.
Yeah.
I mean, so the story is he's with this wife, and she basically catches the attention on the side of the road of this cult that worship, or not really worship, but deal with this group of evil bikers known as the Black Skulls. And or is the cult the Black Skulls too? Like, I'm not sure.
No. The bikers are the Black Skulls. The cult is actually called the Children of the New Dawn.
Children of the New Dawn.
Which was one of the title sequences that you were talking about.
Okay, you're right. That was the second one then.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Children of the New Dawn. This is the leader of the Children of the New Dawn.
Jeremiah. Jeremiah Sand.
Oh god, that character. He was fun to watch, I'll tell you what. He was a scenery chewer in the Willem Dafoe level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he was really funny because he takes notice of Mandy on the side of the road, and he basically says, "I want her."
Right.
And so the cult goes and they enlist the help of the Black Skulls to capture Mandy.
And I just want to point out, because like another thing, just to interrupt real quick.
Sure.
Like this movie almost feels like a video game. It almost, because like there's like so many like items that like come up.
Yeah.
And like for instance, like the how they summon the Black Skulls is they have this horn and
the rock horn.
Yeah, it's like it's called the Horn of Abrasis, and like, or Brassus, and like when he blows it, like it's just like this weird tone, and then that calls upon like
calls the bikers out,
sadistic biker gang.
And so they go and retrieve Mandy and incapacitate Red at the time, and basically Jeremiah tries to seduce Mandy in his way by force feeding her LSD. And the concentrated form of LSD.
And that was another great part too, because like they pull out some like weird like hornet thing.
Like weird bug that skeeved me the hell out. I hate that stuff.
And then then they like put it next to her neck and it like injects its poison.
Then they call it like the icing on the cake or something like that.
No, it was the cherry on top.
Cherry on top. Okay.
Yeah, like the witch type of character. She was just like, I call this the cherry.
And it's so disturbing. So disturbing and never explained.
No.
Never explained, but still so disturbing.
Yeah.
So Mandy is on this weird trip, and then Jeremiah stands up in his like gorgeous robe and like basically tells her how awesome he was as a 70s folk singer. and basically by the end of it takes off his robe and offers his naked self to her, showing everything, by the way, which there's enough boobs out there that I'll forgive it, but I didn't need to see it.
It kind of reminded me of like Buffalo Bill. Yeah,
a little bit, but he didn't tuck.
Right, he didn't tuck. But I just mean the character itself.
Okay, fair enough.
That he's beyond everyone. You know, he thinks that like he actually talked to God, and so that's why these people like worship him, and that anything that he desires is given to him. Yeah. Because that's what he wants.
But that thought process is disrupted when Mandy immediately starts laughing hysterically at him.
Yeah.
And his manhood.
And I love it how he just like starts like masturbating in front of her, just like like angrily furious masturbation.
God. I'll show you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, dude. And she just keeps laughing, so he, unfortunately for Nicolas Cage, he has her taken out in such a way that they actually bind Nicolas Cage in barbed wire and then bring the wife out in a sack, tie her up and suspend her over a fire and suspend her and then spray her with lighter fluid, and then ignite her and basically force Nicolas Cage to watch his wife burn in a sack as they drive away.
Yeah,
end of
burned
part
alive.
One.
Like you see the fucking burlap
she's writhing.
sack.
Yeah. like a terrifying Halloween decoration.
Oh my god!
And then that's the end of part one.
Well, no, not necessarily.
He climbs away, right?
Well,
first,
he climbs away, and then I love that moment
it.
where he like goes into his house.
His
and then
bathroom scene.
Well, no. This is what I love
dope.
when he's watching television and he sees the cheddar goblin.
Oh, the cheddar goblin! Such a weird transition. Such a weird transition.
That was like, I want a cheddar goblin T-shirt.
I'm sure there are some, because
Yeah.
that thing like stole like media attention for like a week when this movie
Actually,
came out.
the cheddar goblin official follows me on Instagram
Really?
now.
That's hilarious.
Because I drew some Mandy stuff. So.
Oh, okay.
So,
So the cheddar guy, so he sees that, and then he goes into a bathroom and has like the most Nicolas Cage-iest acting, but honestly of the highest level.
Yeah.
Where he runs the gamut of emotions, of sadness to desperation to revenge to everywhere in between.
Like at the beginning of the movie, like people are offering him like, a beer after like a hard day's work, and he like turns it down, and you can tell that like that was a different side of him that he'll never want to see again. And so after seeing the death of his wife in front of him, just like grabbing a bottle of vodka and chugging it,
almost the whole thing in this one shot,
like where he's holding open his throat and it's burning.
That's what he was doing. Okay.
Yeah. He's just like, oh.
For real. Like, I wonder how method that was. Was
Yeah.
it vodka or was it water, do you think?
I don't know. But,
but either way, he
probably it was vodka.
I would think so, yeah. Because, man, that scene was powerful. And then, so basically, Nicolas Cage decides he's going to go exact revenge on the cult and the bikers.
Yeah.
So that's what the second part of the movie is about. And it starts off, he goes to a... funny you brought up Predator.
Right, exactly.
Because he goes to an old army buddy, played by the black man that is in the Predator that gets... I think he gets sawn in half or something. How does he go out in Predator?
I think... Doesn't his head gets blown off?
Oh, that's right. By the three dots.
Yeah, the three dots.
Yeah. Okay, but he shows up, and he's obviously lost some weight over the years.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Nicolas Cage basically tells him what's going on and gets his crossbow from him.
Yeah, the Reaper.
The Reaper.
Like, he knocks on the door, I've come for the Reaper.
Mm-hmm. Nicolas Cage, in certain... Like this, honestly, Nicolas Cage is the poster boy of both ridiculous movies and... like underground movies that are ridiculously awesome because of him.
Yeah.
And like this isn't necessarily just because of him, but his acting truly elevates this movie. Like picture what other actor could really pull this off in the way that Nicolas Cage did in this movie. You'd be hard pressed to think of one.
Yeah, just especially like just the emotional roller coaster that he goes through. Plus, like, there's those like Cage moments where like it's just so over the top, but it's brought on from like LSD trips and just the ultra violence that he's having to deal with like every moment.
The personal strife.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. Like, yeah, I think that Cage was perfect. When they originally signed on Cage for this movie, he was actually going to play the cult leader.
Oh,
yeah.
Weird. Who was going to play him?
They hadn't found somebody yet, and so they originally that's what they signed him on for, and then further into pre-production, Cage was just like, I kind of want to be Red Miller, the main character, and because they didn't know how long they were going to be able to have Cage.
Oh, really?
For the production,
because he was into the character, did he stay on longer?
Because that's like awesome. For instance, I guess that the the leader of the cult, Jeremiah Sand, he only had like 5 days of shooting or something like that. Yeah. It was very limited for that performance, shooting schedule wise. But like Cage was just like, I love this. It's so different. It's so weird. And he saw that Beyond the Black Rainbow.
Oh, he did. Okay.
And he was like, that movie gives me nightmares, man.
Hey, check Derk out with the Nick Cage. All right.
Which is just basically like an Elvis Presley impression.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. Okay, I get you.
But yeah, so yeah, man, Cage was just perfect for this.
Well, we've obviously segued into acting. Let's talk about Mandy for a minute. I thought she was tremendous as well.
Just like she,
not your typical Hollywood starlet that you'd expect to be opposite Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, she's been in some stuff though. Like she's been in Birdman. She was. I don't know if you ever seen Bloodlines or with Netflix series.
So. No.
Yeah, so there's some stuff that she's been in that like she's phenomenal in. But yeah, just visually, like she just even that story where she's talking about when she was a child and watching like kids like beating this like animal and like and then like her father giving her the bat
to take a turn.
And like you're just like, you know, and then that wicked scar on the side of her face too, man. Like it's just so visual, like that character. And there was so many moments where, you know, like you're just seeing her and she doesn't have to say anything, and you can tell like the sorrow or like the vengeance, because it almost seems like at one point, like that second part of the movie, it's almost like Mandy takes over Cage,
right,
and then and then reaps her
to exact revenge. And we talked about Jeremiah, his acting a bit. He was very appropriate for his role. He had cult followers that all played. I thought you're right. Everyone did play their role very well.
Right.
They just weren't super interesting to me, but they were good at what they were doing.
I don't know, like the slack jaw character that when he was like playing with the window button. You know, and
that
then
was
like
so frustrating.
Yeah.
I was like the driver. I wanted to beat his ass.
Oh yeah. And then just like I don't know, like the there was Lucy's character, the one that like didn't really talk, and like when like Jeremiah puts the gun to her head and is just like, show me like how dedicated you are to me, and like you know, and just playing like Russian roulette with her, just like it's just. I don't know, man. I got such a cool.
Was good too.
I just got such a cool vibe from it all. Like it felt like a really well put together, just like Satanist type of like cult.
Well, that let's transition into the visuals then. I mean, we've hit on a lot of them, but the movie is saturated with beautiful colors, but mostly a lot of purples and reds. Mostly reds.
And that's where like I totally felt like there was like a Dario Argento feel to it, especially right after seeing Suspiria. Like I was just like, yes, you know, like because you know, like I. Especially after our review of like that of the trailer for Suspiria, and I had gotten so many things wrong, and I had to like
look at it.
I don't know, man. Like I kind of like in the comments, I was just like, oh man, I totally got all that shit wrong. And then I went back and I actually watched the original Suspiria like 2 times.
Oh
just to be like, okay, now I'm right with the story. Let's go see the remake.
Gotcha.
So, but which I can't wait to. I'm hoping that we're going to do a spoiler
of the new
discussion.
Yeah, we could do that soon.
Yeah,
that's true. So, we could talk to Fuego about that. Yeah, I would like to. I mean, I guess there's stuff to spoil. Yeah. But yeah, this one though, the visuals were outstanding. There was a lot of lingering, what some might consider kind of slow shots, but a lot of lingering on single people, two people, whatever, but a lot of just one takes, which I actually really very much appreciate as a filmmaker.
Especially like if you have such a high caliber actor that can like just like say a monologue that like takes 2 to 3, 4 minutes long, and like and they pulled it off. Like they were able multiple times, and so I love that shit, man. Like especially when it's done well.
But yeah, I mean that's the cinematography lends to the confidence in the actors for sure.
Right.
But even just the cinematography, it's really gorgeous the way things are framed throughout the whole movie.
All right.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, I really dug it. Again, the use of color is unbelievable. It keeps you intrigued and off balance and focused where they want you to be focused, because it's so heavily shaded and so heavily colored that there's a lot of blackness in a lot of frames where you don't even bother focusing attention, because clearly they want you to look right here.
Right.
And I think that's good filmmaking, because he's like eliminating all the unnecessary space in this one particular shot.
Well, that's in an interview with him, he talked about how like Ridley Scott's Blade Runner, like how he since like, you know, they're working with sets and stuff like that, and they're trying to like create this futuristic world. He was just like, the things that I had going for me was rain and like, you know, bleaching out certain scenes so that like, you know, you don't see everything like that, like it allows you to like imagine everything else kind of going on, and I think that's what he kind of does, is that he uses darkness to his advantage to create like this kind of dream like nightmare
that's
world.
fair.
And so
I could see that. And then the last thing we definitely need to hit on for sure is the music.
Oh, geez.
I mean, the
and
music,
the sound, just
the
like,
sound design and the music. I mean, it's. I'll let you hit the sound. I'll hit the music at first. I'm sure you'll have something to say about the music too. But so heavily synthy.
Yeah.
But like this to me is like It Follows elevated. You know what I mean? Where It Follows was like so standout that it kind of didn't work with the movie a lot. This was so synthy and 80s and cool, but it worked with the presentation of the film more so than I think the It Follows version would have. You know what I mean? I loved it. It's overpowering at times, but it's purposely meant to be so because there's nothing that's the sound on the frame isn't really as interesting or necessary as the ambient music that they're setting up. So I adored the score of this movie.
Well, yeah, I would actually say that it felt more of like a 70s soundtrack.
Okay, yeah, you're probably
just,
right.
Just because like even with like those 80s synth like soundtracks, like I think that this like has more of like kind of that fantastical type of like folk, because like sounds and like jam bands, but with like that a little bit of synth. It was mostly like kind of like organ and stuff like that. Like they really play with the sounds to like enhance kind of like the emotions and of the movie.
Yeah.
And moments too. So.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I think 70s. You're right. That would be more appropriate.
Well, just like you could tell that like they once they played that King Crimson song at the very beginning of the movie, they kind of like channeled like that almost like jam band-ish type of like music. So
yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
So
so yeah, I mean, any final thoughts on the film? I mean, I don't want to spoil anything in this review. I still think the movie is good enough that they need to go and see it for themselves.
Yeah. The only thing I just want to last thing that I want to say was that like in one of the interviews with Panos, like he talks about how what he loves about sequels in the 80s, and like how like they would just have like completely different like feeling going on, like just a whole different theme, like you were almost like the original character from the original movie gets transported into like a whole nother realm, and he just like kind of loves that about like 80s movies, and so he's really hoping to make a Mandy 2.
He is, okay.
And how he explained it, like how he pitched it, was that like he was like, just think of like Red Miller in like a post-apocalyptic city, like almost like Snake Plissken in like Escape of New York, and like how
I can see that, and
him like having to go there to get supplies, and then he runs into like this like neo-Nazi like skinheads, and like they fucked with the wrong dude, and like he's just like, yeah, so if anybody wants to give me money to make that, I'm down.
I'm surprised that they wouldn't jump at that, considering the critical success of Mandy.
Yeah, I just think that, you know, like now instead of like playing with lights and smoke in like a Belgian forest, like how which was the set of like Mandy, like taking it to a city, that's a little tougher.
That's true.
You know, there's
a lot more that goes into it.
Yeah, budget wise.
Yeah,
so.
That's true.
But I'm open for it.
I would be too. I mean, in this filmmaker, you can put some trust for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, why don't you guys let us know in the comments down below? Have you seen Mandy, and if so, what did you think of it? While you're down there, feel free to click the link in the description box for our Patreon. You can join up and help decide what movies we review, as well as you can choose some comics or games or anything like that for us to review or talk about. You guys can actually control some content, but thank you all very much for watching. Thank you, Derk, for doing this review with me. Greatly appreciated, sir. We're actually about to go watch another movie, which the review will already be up for, but thanks to Derk, we get to go see Overlord a couple of days early, so I'm really excited about that one. And
me not so much, but
it looks like great carnage candy for me, so I'm excited
movie.
about that.
Zombie movie.
Yeah, but World War, I don't know, we'll see. Is it really just boiled down to zombies?
I think so, but we'll see.
That is a little bit more of a bummer. Thanks, Derk. All right. Well, thanks very much for watching, guys. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
Derk Harron.
And remember,
Stay scared.